if you sense that the numbers are too good to be true, chances are that they are too good to be true. The display campaigns were getting so many form submissions. 90% of those leads were just spam.
Hello and welcome to the Paid Media Lab podcast. My name is James. I'm the content lead here at Lunio, and in this episode, I'm joined by Sofia, founder of ThinkWise Digital. Sofia is a PPC expert with more than 7 years of hands-on experience in paid media. After building her career at several agencies, working with clients in health, real estate, B2B, and the nonprofit sector, she went solo, launching her own consultancy focused on helping brands generate better quality leads through paid search and paid social. One of her specialisms is running Google Ads audits for lead generation businesses to pinpoint why performance is underwhelming and what needs to be done to fix it. In this episode, we dig into what's broken in B2B lead generation today. Sofia shares why so many companies struggle to deliver sales-ready leads and how to spot early warning signs like suspiciously low cost per lead figures, which often signal a flood of junk form submissions. We talk through strategies to improve lead quality, from classifying keyword intent more effectively to setting up campaign structures that optimize for pipeline impact rather than vanity metrics. Sofia also shares a real-world example of how she helped a client boost lead quality by funneling job seekers away from a commercial intent contact form. We also get into tips on the smarter use of negative keywords, the value of gated content versus ungated content, and also a few technical suggestions for improving performance on LinkedIn ads. As always, the episode is fully timestamped in the description, so if there's a topic you're particularly interested in and you'd like to jump straight ahead to that, you can do. But for now, let's get into some of the biggest problems facing lead gen specialists today and what you can do to fix them. Sofia, welcome to the Paid Media Lab. It's great to have you on. How are things with you today?
Very good. Good to be here as well. Thanks.
Today, Sofia, we're going to be talking about some of the most common mistakes performance marketers make in the B2B space, and that's very much your kind of area of expertise and focus. So before we get into some of those mistakes and things that B2B marketers need to look out for, could you maybe let us know how you came to specialize in B2B and what kind of roles you were doing prior to founding ThinkWise Digital?
Yeah, sure. So when I started working in Google Ads, it was mainly focused on B2C. And then in my latest work at the last agency that I was working with, I mainly had like large B2B clients.
Nice. And were most of your previous roles kind of predominantly agency background rather than in-house? Yeah. So working across multiple clients.
I've only worked with agencies, and it was in both B2B and B2C environment.
It certainly is demanding, especially in the B2B space. So obviously with that background, you are a great person to be talking to talk us through the topic today. We're going to, as I mentioned, we're going to be getting into some of the key things that are maybe broken in B2B lead gen today, or to phrase it another way, kind of mistakes that performance marketers are making in 2025, because as we all know, things are changing rapidly in the world of advertising these days, and it does matter to pay attention to what the latest developments and features and tools are. But before we get into the nuts and bolts of things, to set the stage for Sofia, could you give us some foundational context as to what makes B2B lead gen through paid search and paid social so different from B2C? As you said in your previous answer there, you could argue things are a little bit more straightforward and a little bit easier when it comes to the user journey or the customer journey, certainly in B2C. So what would you say are the key differences there?
Yeah, so to me, the biggest difference between B2B and B2C lead generation is that B2B has a much longer sales cycle usually, and there are multiple people that get involved before a decision is made. In most cases, an ad targeting the most relevant audience, either through like relevant keywords with paid search or relevant or the right audience targeting with your social media, that's usually the very first touch point. And if we take as an example a SaaS product specifically for fintech companies, an ad on Google or LinkedIn works as an introduction of the product to the relevant audience, And most often it will be just a promotion of a webinar, some sort of gated content. And following that, there will be calls with the sales team. Ideally, there will be some demos booked, email follow-ups, discussions with multiple stakeholders, and final decision will come up only like weeks or even months later. So in B2C, we tend to have one person making a decision in a single website visit, and that's it. Whereas B2B, you have all of that like taking ages. Um, and I think another differentiation is that B2B usually you try to target an audience that's much narrower than in B2C. Like
Mm.
in the previous example I mentioned for the SaaS company, marketeers will try to target an audience that is highly involved in the fintech industry. So you really want to reach the right audience because your CPCs are a lot higher compared to B2C as well. So you want to be super targeted there.
Yeah, the CPCs certainly can be massively different when you compare them to some of the B2C sectors. But we'll start with one of the fundamental and long-standing problems. So many listeners will probably resonate with this, where you may not have a hard time driving a high volume of leads from your B2B campaigns, but you quickly then run into problems when you go to qualify some of those leads and you realize that anywhere up to 90% of them, or even more sometimes, may be a bad fit for the product. They're unlikely to ever buy. So given that that's a kind of pervasive problem across the industry, and it's been ongoing for years, why is it that so many businesses struggle to generate truly qualified leads from paid ads, or kind of increase the percentage of those leads that are qualified? Yeah.
Yeah, well, it is like a real big struggle. I think the main problem is that when you first start working with a B2B company, they have that delayed assessment of the leads that come through, and you have that like the boss coming to you and they're like, just get me as many leads as possible, as many form submissions as possible, and you'll just increase the chances of us reaching good quality leads. So you end up running ads, they are getting form submissions, you're thinking the ads are working great. Google Ads algorithm thinks that everything is working absolutely fantastic, and then it just keeps giving you the same results. It keeps optimizing for the same results, only for you to find like weeks later, you know what, those forms that we get all submitted and coming through, they're not really qualified leads. And then you start to hear the complaints from the boss, and you're like, but you asked me for form submissions, that's what you were wanting. But yeah, I think the struggle is to have a mismatch between the keyword intent and the customer's journey. So if, for example, if you're using a keyword like CRM software integration guide, and it's directing users to a page that is asking them to book a demo, there's a mismatch. Users will just
Hmm.
bounce off the website. But if you use a keyword like, I don't know, best CRM software, which is quite generic, but it does indicate that the user is in the research process. So the landing page should be heavily focused on providing valuable information, and ideally even include a gated like PDF content if we have, like an industry report
Mm-hmm.
or a white paper that proves and makes the specific CRM tool the best out there. And only add like as a secondary CTA button the demo booking, for example. So have that alignment of keyword intent and landing page basically.
Yeah, that's the kind of crucial part if you're spending heavily on paid search, is getting that intent alignment, for sure. I know you've been in the space for a while now, Sophia. Um,
Mhm.
you don't you can obviously anonymize and you don't have to say, but are there any examples you've seen of kind of, from previous clients, or ad spend being wasted on non-buyers or irrelevant traffic? Is there anything that comes to mind from your past experience there?
Well, I used to work with a company that was offering customer support outsourcing services.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they had a customer support team that could work remotely for other businesses. And their main problem was that even though they were getting a lot of form submissions from their Google Ads activity, most of these leads were interested in a job rather than actual partnership with a business. So there was a lot of wasted budget, and the problem wasn't just within the actual Google Ads platform, it was on the website as well. And we do tend to focus a lot on optimizing and finding the tricks within the like platform elements, when the real solution can be just like on your website, the landing page experience, offline conversions, or even just simply hearing your client's feedback will be much more beneficial than trying to tweak and make changes within the actual Google Ads platform.
For sure. Do you in that particular case that you referenced where you had a lot of job seekers or people looking for roles coming through, do you remember what the kind of solution or what the approach was that you took there to resolve that?
Yeah, so the main problem was that the contact form, there was only one contact form for the whole website,
Mm-hmm.
and it was quite short as well. Like I think it was five fields, and the last field was an open text question of like leave a message. So everyone that was coming onto the website could just fill out that form. My suggestion was to have a separate form for job seekers, and next to the that new business type of form, include a text that would say, if you're looking for a job, either follow this link or email this address. And then in um, in the actual Google Ads platform, we had to include a lot of exclusions in the keywords because they were not in place. So a lot of exclusions in terms of the audiences. Anyone that's interested in employment would need to be excluded.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone that visited the website that's relevant to job searches, like within the actual website, would need to be excluded. So things like that helped with getting you more qualified leads, and then obviously add values to the leads that you have received as well.
Yeah, I think we'll touch on quite a few of those points later in the conversation, about lead scoring and about exclusions as well. Like you touched on there, like yeah, a big part of that is making sure that anyone who has visited the career section of your website, you probably don't want to be aggressively retargeting those people if you're looking to drive new business. If you're looking to hire people, then of course it's a different
Yeah.
situation. But yeah, sounds like you implemented a pretty comprehensive solution for that one. So before we go ahead, let's say we want to pull the brakes early before we get in a situation where our CRM is flooded with junk leads. Are there any early warning signs that you would look out for which might indicate that, oh, hold on a minute, this campaign is probably generating a lot of leads that aren't going to be qualified and we're just going to have to kind of chuck away ultimately? So is there anything you look out for there?
This might sound probably like a daft response, to be honest, but if you sense that the numbers are too good to be true, chances are that they are too good to be true. Um, I used to work with a B2B company, like a big one, and it had just two or three competitors, I think, for like multiple different products that they were offering. And they had quite a substantial budget, so I wanted to run some display ads, display prospecting ads, targeting users who have visited competitors' websites. And after the first like 3-4 weeks, the display campaigns were getting so many form submissions. Uh, but I knew like the landing page was offering just a gated content. The actual form, it was quite big form as well. Like it had 7 or 8 fields. Um, but I still thought that the amount of leads from this type of campaign was just too good to be true. And I didn't have access to their CRM system at the time, so I just pushed them to check their CRM software. Um, and I was informed, like after a few weeks, that 90% of those leads were just spam. So things
I
are, if it's too good, it's too good.
I really like that, and the the reason it's so tricky is because it's so tempting to just go, wow, this is going great and the campaign's delivering and like, the CPL is really low and look at this fantastic and it's just like you're just kind of delaying the inevitable pain that's going to come later on down the line. But it is very, very tempting in that moment to, you know, we all want to take credit for work that we've done well or whatever it is, and it can be so easy to go, this is great. But what you said there, if it's too good to be true, the numbers, It probably is, and you should probably start paying more attention to what's coming in the door if you're in that situation. Yeah, great advice there. So you mentioned as well that in the kind of case study example that you referred to there about keyword selection, and you kind of have touched on keyword intent is very important. So could you talk a little bit more about how you think about keyword intent classification and how people can try to hone in on those keywords which do align with higher intent?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think keyword intent plays like a huge role. A high intent keyword, like it's going to be a long one, like a CRM software demo for fintech companies, means that users are looking to try out different tools and are ready to buy. So you want these users to be directed to a page with like a strong trust elements that will convince them to actually book a demo. Whereas someone looking for a keyword like CRM benefits to look out for is still in the research process and would need a page that is designed for like a colder audience. So basically, depending on the intent of the keyword between like you have like three different groups of intent usually that would be informational, um, how to manage a sales pipeline, for example. And then you have comparative, best CRM tool for
Mhm.
fintech companies. And then you have the transactional, which would be buy CRM tool with, I don't know, like some sort of integration. And you can match that intention to your actual landing page and your CTAs on that page. And this way, you're targeting users in a more holistic, like full funnel type of approach rather than specifying in just like one area.
So that's a really good point. So like grouping all the informational keywords together, creating a dedicated landing page to answer whatever informational query it is, and then sending, because like obviously the thing is, if someone looking for that informational type query then suddenly lands on a landing page that says buy the product now, there's a complete mismatch and they're going to bounce. And yeah, you really need to lead them through the journey. You have referenced it quite a few times. So gated content is obviously a big part of the B2B world, whether that's a guide, a PDF, some kind of thing that you're giving away for free in exchange for that initial form fill. Just before I pass over to you on that, Sophia, I just wanted to let people know, like at Lunio, we've done a little experiment over the years that I've been here. So we, at one point, we experimented with making everything completely ungated for a while. Obviously, ungating everything does have its benefits in terms of increased reach and engagement, especially on LinkedIn for sure. If people can see the PDF with their own eyes and they can scroll through it, and they find it useful, they're much more likely to engage with the post, share it with other people, and that's great. But we did notice some disadvantages in certain cases. Obviously, there's trade-offs with everything, especially if we had a piece of content that was ungated and shared, but was tied extremely closely to our product offering. So maybe it was like a piece of original research based on our platform data. We found that it probably didn't make the most commercial sense for us to keep that ungated if it is very close to what our product offering is. So we have moved back to a policy where if it's original data, original resource, or original research, sorry, related to invalid traffic, we're kind of gating that content. But for the most part, if it's more top of funnel, in our case, we feel it makes more sense to keep everything ungated. So with my little story about Lunio out of the way there, what's your kind of take on gated content? And do you think it often makes sense to send paid traffic to some kind of top of funnel gated content download?
I think you've answered that brilliantly. I don't even need to add my reply to that. I think you nailed it. I think you should run ads that direct users to some sort of gated content only if you have like really valuable content to offer, like a benchmark report or some sort of detailed white paper that is very niche to the topic. Um, and only if you have a plan after you receive the lead. Just like collecting emails in your CRM software helps no one. You need to have like a clear plan of nurturing the potential client, follow-up emails. So basically avoid gated content if there's no if there's no valuable offer and if there's no plan to actually nurture those leads.
So that follow-up part of the equation, so obviously like the kind of most basic thing I think would be just a kind of automated email nurturing campaign where the person might download it, and then over the course of 2 to 3 weeks they might receive 5 emails that are somewhat related to the piece of content, trying to engage with that person further.
Mhm.
That's the kind of step one. Is there any other things that you do that are on top of that kind of standard nurturing campaign that might help move that person down the funnel a bit further?
I think there's a lot down to the like internal business side of things. Apart from just emails, you can, I know it's very like old school, but you can give a call.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, if like you feel like you have a really good product and you can sell it easier over a call, you can just pick up the phone. Um, Other than that, even like display remarketing can sometimes work because, as we said, B2B sales cycle is quite long.
Uh,
You just want to keep reminding users of, oh, we know that you were interested in this tool. Maybe you should have a look again, like check it again, that sort of thing. Just, yeah, I think that's the way we usually go to.
yeah, it's kind of email being the main one, and then thinking, okay, what can we layer on here in terms of retargeting? That kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um. So if we get down to the real nuts and bolts practicalities of what we're talking here, Sophia, could you walk us through the steps you typically take when setting up a campaign which you want to optimize, obviously, for qualified leads and pipeline generation? So we're looking to really hone in on uplifting lead quality. Obviously, this is a massive it depends question, because like
Yeah.
it depends on what the business is, and that's going to change your approach. But if you had to speak in kind of broad general terms, what are some of the important steps that you're taking to kind of make sure that that campaign is going to be geared towards the right people?
Okay. So you said it kind of depends, but I think I would start with making sure that we have clear distinction between what is a marketing qualified lead and what is a sales qualified lead. Basically, have that open discussion between the marketing team and the sales team, and they both agree what do we count as MQL, what is an SQL, and how much value do we attribute to each. Uh, and I always try to push for like full CRM integration, especially like with your Google Ads activity. So you're not just looking at conversions in the platform, but actually tracking what's turning into revenue essentially. Um, and you can see that information down to your like keyword level, what's actually driving sales. Um, from there, I just built the campaigns as I explained, like in the like some sort in the like an entire funnel type of approach with like high intent keywords, mid funnel, and then like I have a very small budget for top funnel content maybe. Um, but even though I do know that those top of the funnel type of searches will not drive direct sales, but they're great for warming up the right audience for like future retargeting, as we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you do need to have that a lot of effort to the external factors, not just like your actual Google Ads structure of the campaign to begin with.
Just in your own experience, like when you're looking at the performance of a campaign and you're looking at certain KPIs and metrics, which ones are you paying most attention to? Is it kind of like the amount of sales qualified opportunities that are opened up, or what are you paying attention to most?
Usually I'll try to kind of avoid the in platform native metrics. I
Hmm.
do care more about your offline conversions.
Hmm.
So what's happening in the CRM? I'm looking at things like leads to MQL rate, leads to SQL conversion, and essentially which campaigns are influencing like the full like pipeline and your closed deals. And with that data, I can decide where to scale and where to like cut, basically. budgets.
Yeah. And it's much harder to fall into that trap of, having the results that are too good to be true if you are paying attention to the CRM data. Because if you just look at the platform data, that's where it can be, the platform native metrics can make it very easy for you to think like everything's absolutely great. And yeah, if you're not paying your attention to the CRM side, that's where you can run into issues. One thing that we've mentioned and that you've spoken about in terms of ways that you might be able to increase or better qualify the leads that are coming in is lead scoring. So I presume you've worked with quite a lot of different lead scoring implementations at different companies. And are there any top level bits of advice and guidance that you'd come to create an effective lead scoring? The only thing, like, because I don't work with anywhere near the number of clients that you do, like, in your experience, is there a risk that it can become really overcomplicated with lead scoring? Or for the most part, is it a case of people just aren't doing it in the first place and they need to have some form of lead scoring in place?
I think usually it is a case of they're not doing it at all,
Mm.
and they need to have some sort of lead scoring in place. To It is like a maths type of question, and it can be difficult sometimes to calculate. I used to be very good at maths, but I think that skill has minimized currently. So, but we do have ChatGPT. We have LLMs that can help you calculate and do the maths for you. But as long as you have the right data, you need to give it the right information. So the main thing is to find the most accurate rates for the metrics you're interested in. So if you're looking to give a value to, for example, the demo form submission, how much value would that be? You'd need to know how many of the demo requests that you receive are actually getting you get the sales team to get in touch with.
Mhm.
What percentage of those turn into actual accounts, like an actual sale, and what's the average deal value? And based on those numbers, you can calculate what is the average value of that one submitted form. I was actually told by, surprisingly, Google Rep that there is a Google Ads conversion value calculator that you can use. And it's quite easy. As long as you have those numbers, like the rates that I said now, you can just add that information in and it will give you the value of your form submission. Um, Easy, straightforward. But yeah, I think as I said before, your main requirement is to have that direct communication with the sales team because things will change eventually. Like in few months, considering the long sales cycle, the value that you have attributed now will be different later on. So you need to have that um, up-to-date number and be able to adjust things.
My last question, we haven't spoke much about LinkedIn here. We've been quite heavily focused on the paid search side of things, which where the vast majority of B2B brands spend the lion's share of their budget is through paid search. But obviously LinkedIn is another key component of that. We touched on display retargeting campaigns that, you mentioned you might want to do if you've had that top of funnel download, and then you want to nurture those leads that have come in. You might want to do that through Google Display. You can also do that through LinkedIn, and that's a great way to nurture leads that have come in off gated content downloads. We don't have time to, we could make a whole episode about LinkedIn for B2B in itself. I've recorded a couple of webinars about that in the past, so we're not going to get into it today. But Sophia, because you have spent quite a lot of budget and ran campaigns through LinkedIn, I just thought maybe before we finish, if you could distill down some kind of key actionable points in terms of what would be your top tips for running more effective lead gen campaigns on LinkedIn, and also keeping the cost down, because LinkedIn can be incredibly expensive, I think, as most people will know.
Yes. So I do think LinkedIn is great for B2B. As you can be very targeted with the audience. You can look based on like job titles, job functions, industry, company size, etc. So I do think they're very, very expensive. Like if you're gonna run LinkedIn ads, they're so expensive. So I tend to recommend it only when the business has enough budget that they can allocate to that channel. But this also means that you need to have a content that is like it's standing out and you can capture users' attention. In the past, I found webinars doing quite well on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
better than any like downloadable sort of content. Um, but I'll be honest, I haven't run LinkedIn ads in the last 3-4 months or so.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've seen and what I've read, the algorithm is currently it's shifting towards favoring more sponsored content. So it
For
might
sure.
be better timing to give it another shot and try again, because your ads will probably be seen more often than they used to. But you need to remember that LinkedIn is still like a social media platform, and you're reaching users while they're scrolling their feed. They're not looking for a solution. So just offering a demo to a cold audience will not get you the best results. But yes, as far as like tips and tricks, make sure that you have implemented conversion tracking. Uh, you need to basically install the LinkedIn Insight tag. Um, Not just rely on clicks and engagement metrics that you see within the LinkedIn platform. And also, when running LinkedIn ads, businesses need to be prepared to test different ad formats and messaging until you can find what works for their offering. Like, there's no one solution to all of the businesses. You need to be ready to spend a lot of money to test a lot of different things: image ads, video ads. It could be just text ads. So basically, test, try to be able to push whatever you see works for your business and for your audience. It's
Mm.
not one solution for all, unfortunately.
Yeah, it'd be so much easier if it was, but then we'd have less stuff to talk about on the podcast. So, so we will have to leave it there. But I want to say thank you so much for joining us today, Sophia. It's been great to connect some super useful takeaways for anyone that is working in B2B. We'll leave it there. Thanks again, Sophia. It's been great.
Thank you very much.
That's it for this episode of the Paid Media Lab. Thanks for tuning in. If you found it helpful, hit the subscribe button to get the next episode as soon as it's released. Subscribing costs nothing, and it helps us bring you the best possible guests in the next season. And if you want more advice on how to boost your return on ad spend, head to lunio.ai, where you'll find loads more free tools, resources, and guides. Lastly, if you know any other marketers who benefit from the tips in this episode, you can do them and us a favor by sending them the link to the show. That's all for this one, and I'll see you in the next episode.